Hey everybody, today on this video we're going to be looking at weather forecasts. Basically, how do you figure out the types of protection gear, clothing that you need to be bringing when you go out and venture out into the mountains. So I'm going to walk you through the process, and I'm going to start with kind of an overview, looking at the big picture, and then we'll be kind of shrinking down and getting more and more precise as we go through. And again, I'm showing you several different tools, all available to you online without any cost, and you'll be able to go on and kind of basically reproduce that process for yourself. Let's get right into it, and I'll start you on our process. This session we're talking about weather, and I wanted to show you kind of the process, and there's some of the resources online for you to get more knowledgeable about weather and how to predict the conditions, because those are really important for what you want to bring. I want to make sure you do bring, and but you need to make sure you bring the right gear for the conditions that you're going to experience. And sometimes, as anybody in the mountains knows, sometimes the weather forecast isn't quite right and things are a little bit different. So what you want to do is take the weather forecast as a guideline and about what the medium level conditions will be, but then you plan for whether it gets much colder or more nasty weather versus maybe warmer and drier and sunnier than what the forecast actually says. But the trick is to get as sophisticated as you can and as much knowledge as you can about the conditions that you'll be facing, so that you make the right decisions on the gear and not pack too much, but even more importantly, not packing enough. Okay, so with that, we're going to go on to the session and start talking about, again, the resources and how to get smart when you get into forecasting weather. Okay, so we're going to be looking at weather and how to predict weather forecasts for wherever you're going to go. What I'm going to start with is a broad overview of how to get an idea of overall conditions for your general area, and then we're going to go into more detail when we start actually looking at the very specific things. Okay, so with that, I'm recording, so we're good. And we're going to go into our weather apps, and I'm going to show you a weather app I like is Windy. And I'm going to show this to you where it defaults to wind, but it's got other features. It's a very graphical user interface, so it's got some advantages when you want to look at top level directions of wind and storms and things like that. And so I'm going to show you some cool things about Windy. So as you can see, it defaults to wind. It's showing these vectors, these lines, and that's showing the general wind direction. The bigger those lines, the stronger the wind is, and then it also colors it so that red shows fast wind, as you can see here. Blue is very low wind. You have a little scale down here that shows you what's going on, and shows you the current conditions. And so I can also play this, and we'll get to that in a second. But I'm going to show you a couple things. So when you start looking at a graphical interface here and showing the wind patterns, really one thing that I want to get out of this, and you can get it on different weather maps as you know, being able to tell whether something's a high pressure or a low pressure system. Low pressure systems tend to be in a counterclockwise pattern as far as the circles that the wind goes around. And so you can see here on the screen, we've got a counterclockwise fashion right here off of Vancouver Island. It's relatively small, but there is a low there. And if we go over here, we can also see some other things going on. Let's see what else. So we have more really fast winds going over the southern coast of Alaska. So really cool. So if you want to geek out on weather, have fun with this. Let's see if I can scroll out a little bit more. And then you can start seeing really large weather patterns. So for example, here over the other continent across the Marion Strait, we've got a really big low over here. That's really far away. That's not going to bother us at all. And then some really fast winds also over the ocean. So just interesting, has nothing to do with us. I just wanted to show. So as I guess here's what you can also see. Usually when you have a low pressure area, you're going to have a high pressure area somewhere close to it. And that's in fact what we do have. And so we have here, you can see this is going in a clockwise fashion. So this is a high pressure system going this way. And then if we come over here, we can see a smaller centered low pressure system again off the coast. Now, what's cool is that we can start watching these things way out in advance, right? Weather typically comes from the west, flowing east. And as we can see, things progressing. We're really looking at Washington State here. Are we having any of those centers coming in towards us? And you're not really seeing anything here on Friday morning. Weather, as far as from a wind graphical perspective, is not severe. We got some wind shear here coming in. Now we're into Saturday. And you don't really see it really hitting us. Here's a little slightly high pressure system kind of developed and went away. And now we're into Saturday. Sunday, you still don't see anything. So the takeaway that I'm getting on windy right here on this view is that we don't really have any huge weather systems going to hit us here over the next 4 or 5 days. So as I'm thinking about it, today is Wednesday, as I'm thinking about going into the mountains this weekend, I know that there's not any huge weather events that I need to worry about. And so now I need to go into more detail as to where I want to go and then what that's going to tell me. Okay, so let's go to that view next. Okay, so to go do that, what I usually would go to first is the NOAA app, and I've got a whole bunch of just bookmarks across Western Washington of places that I would like to go, just to make it a little bit faster to hunt for the best weather, depending on my mood. So we'll go and just for fun, we'll start at Mount Pilchuck, and I'll show you how to get to these individually as we go in. And so what forecast.weather.gov is telling me is, let's say I'm interested in going out for Friday. I can look at the top level, and this is late November, and so we're just seeing lots of the same, right? Snow, 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 snow. And we look at from this level that this is just not fabulous conditions, unless that's what I was looking for. But you can kind of see the difference in percentages. Again, this is a day average, so 70% chance that snow showers will happen today. Tonight, about a 30% chance, and then a Friday, if that's what I'm looking for, although it is snowy, it's only a 10% chance throughout the entire day. So, and then Saturday, maybe Saturday's looks better. It's got a 30% chance, but then it changes to mostly sunny, so maybe that's what I want to do if I want to see the views from Pilchuck. I might be wanting to move my adventure to a Saturday. It's going to tell me the low and the high, okay? But it doesn't tell me a lot more than that. So I can go down and I can read the detailed forecast. Again, this is for the entire day. Sometimes here, usually only a couple of days out will it give me the wind predictions. It also gives me an approximation only a couple of days out of how much snow accumulation there will be. Again, we're in November and through the winter, so there'll be some snow accumulation at times for these mountains. So it reads that, and so I can get some information out of it. Again, if I'm looking for Friday or Saturday, right, it's going to tell me that. But let's say I'm really, Friday is the day off. Saturday I got to do chores in the house, so Friday I'm going to do this. So at the top it said it was 10% chance of snow and didn't have anything, but look at there. There's some description, partly sunny. That doesn't sound bad. And the south wind around 10 miles per hour. So that's a very, not a bad wind vector, and that's what we kind of saw in windy as well, was that there wasn't any huge amounts of wind in the mountains for Western Washington. So that all makes sense. And so I can scroll down, and here I can change where I want to go. So if I want to change from Mount Pilchuck to somewhere else, I can just go here on the map. I can scroll around and I can find a spot. So if I want to go to Glacier Peak, we can click on the top of Glacier Peak. Trust me, this is Glacier Peak. Yeah, at 10,500 foot elevation. Let's say I'm absolutely crazy and I want to try Glacier Peak at the end of November. I can go in and I can see what's going on here. Thanksgiving Day is partly sunny. Look at that. And then again, about the same on Friday that Pilchuck had, about 10% slight chance of snow. The high is 28. Amazingly, it's only a little bit colder than Pilchuck. That's surprising. And the low is around 20 at 10,500 foot elevation. Actually, not that bad, considering everything. And so again, I can go down here and I can read hour, and this is much more likely for a high elevation mountain. Winds to 20 to 23 with gusts as high as 32. That's downright cold. And so the wind chill values in the around 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Brr. So that wind does make a difference. Okay, so that's what you can get from there, and but that doesn't really tell me exactly the details of my day, right? So I'm going to go back. I want to go back to Pilchuck because that's really where I want to go. I was just having fun with Glacier Peak. So this is back. We just went back in the browser, and when I come down, I can get. This is what I use the most is the hourly weather forecast. So I'm going to click on that, and then it's going to tell me a whole bunch of stuff, and I can go out a whole week in advance on this. And it defaults to today. This is where we are right now. It's Wednesday morning, so it's telling me things. I want to look at Friday. So this is Thursday night, Thursday day, Friday night. And then it cuts off, so I need to go forward 2 days. What I'll do is that so it's Wednesday. I'm going to say Thursday at noon because it's going to only show me 2 days at a time. So I'll do noon the day before. And I'll show you Friday through Saturday and why that's important to look at. All right, so here's Friday. Here's the daytime Friday. So again, the high is 40 for the top of Pilchuck. The low is like 34, but really steady temperature. The winds, this is from the south. So this little vector here is the south, showing you the general wind direction. It's going to be coming from the south up to Pilchuck. And then we've got some things. So relative humidity is the green line. Sky cover. So if you're interested in seeing the view, I got 50% sky coverage. So I'll see some peekaboo views. Actually, clouds make a better photograph. So I can actually like some clouds to show up. So again, generally speaking, we got about 50% sky cover. There should be some really cool photography there at the lookout if I can get up there. And then the chance of rain for Friday is barely none. Remember, at the top level, it said 10% chance, but when I look for the day, it's only around 4. And you can see it jumps up late in the day to 21%. Here in the morning, it's around 6 to 20. And so it's showing me a general average of about 10% for the entire day. So this is why it's important to look at the hourly forecast. So Friday looks spectacular for Pilchuck. Again, it's not going to be 100% views, but it'll have some sun, at least according to this. And even if there was a rain chance, if it does rain, it's just going to drizzle a little bit. There's going to be no accumulation expected of rain whatsoever. If there was snow, there's snow. You can also start seeing it down here. So again, there's going to be a little bit of snow potentially at night with that 21% chance of precipitation. But again, during the day, no snow. And if you're looking for avalanche conditions, you want to see what's happening prior to the day you go out. It's a couple of days in the past, and you're not seeing any huge amounts of snow dump. I won't go into details with that. There's a lot to go with avalanche prediction. That's going to be beyond the scope of what I'm talking about today. But that's kind of a general idea. And that's going to tell me that that's pretty good. Now, the other thing I like to do and why I use the 2-day forecast, and I don't want to be just focused on Friday, right? This is my Friday. Although, let's see, it's Wednesday today. Things could change by tomorrow. Sometimes those weather fronts come in unexpectedly fast, or they go down further south when we think they're going to track north, whatnot. The idea is to look in front of you for 2 reasons. 1, the weather could come in quicker. 2, if you, for whatever reason, you get delayed with an accident or something like that, where you're not able to get off the mountain as quickly as you thought, you want to see what's coming at you so that you're prepared for what we call benighting, or having to spend the night because you're not able to get back to the car in time. And so what that's telling me is, although today, for the day, there is no snow on Pilchuck, there's an increasing chance of snow happening. And so here, again, it's not huge, but if that was like a huge storm supposed to come in that night or into the next day, I definitely want to be thinking about that as a potential issue for the reasons that I've just talked about. Okay. Winds also, sometimes you have a big wind event, and that really dramatically changes the conditions that you're going to be in. So again, look at those weather conditions. Again, this is weather forecast, so it's, for some of us, this is barely a science because it's so bad. I think if you go out hiking enough, you're going to realize that sometimes the weather is just plain wrong in the spot that you're at because you have a little microclimate going on, and you can be caught unawares. Sometimes better, but typically when it's worse is the times you remember. Blizzards in August are not unknown in this area. So that's pretty much the how I use the weather. Again, looking beyond the time that you're going to be there, looking at the detailed forecast by hour. Again, I use NOAA. The other thing you can do is use another app called Mountain Weather Forecast. And on this one, it's a little bit different. So this is more if you're actually climbing a particular mountain, it's very useful. So let's say I want to go climb, I don't know, let's go up to Muir. That would be fun, right? So let's go look at Rainier. And so I can just type in Rainier. You can look it up also by range, etc. But if you know the mountain you're going to, chances are it's in this database. So I'm going to find Mount Rainier. Now I'm not going to the top. I'm just going to go up to Muir, but I'm going to tell you how to do that on this app here. Okay, so again, let's think about Friday. This is telling me, and this is the cool part about Mountain Weather Forecast. It gives you the forecast for different elevations along the mountain. So it defaults to the very top. So if I was trying to climb to the tippy top of Mount Rainier, I will be in 45-mile-per-hour winds in the afternoon, and if I was spending the night, I would be in 60-mile-per-hour winds. That is crazy. Bring your kites, guys. That is not something you want to be in anytime on Mount Rainier, much less when it's cold. So, because the high without the wind chill, I think, is 10 degrees Fahrenheit. With the wind chill, it'll be negative 20. Woohoo! It's like Himalaya kind of conditions, man. Woo! Don't want to be there. All right, but we're not going to go to the top. We're going to go to Muir, and Muir is kind of between 11 and 8. I think the elevation is like 9,000 something feet, so I didn't look it up. That's just going off memory. So I will go and click. I think this is probably the closest, and let's see what it says for Muir. Here, Muir is much more reasonable. It's only going to be 25-mile-per-hour winds at Muir, and it's completely gorgeous and sunny, so it should be fabulous, right? No, it's not going to be fabulous because that is still some pretty significant wind. The high is 32. With the wind chill, it's going to be the high is 19. It is cold. So your water will freeze, your hands will freeze. You'll need to have some pretty heavy gear to keep yourself comfortable in those types of conditions. I generally, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, not a big deal. When it starts getting up, and it color codes it, right? So it's a little bit yellow at 25, orange at 35, and then I think it was red when it was whatever it was at the top or near. So generally pretty windy. If I was to choose the day to go to Muir, I would choose Saturday predominantly because of the wind. Now it's interesting because the high is lower than it is Friday, so you're going, well, that's going to be colder, Jason. What are you talking about? However, it's the wind chill, and the wind chill has it, at least in the afternoon, at 27, which is actually warmer than it is Friday, effectively, where it's the high is around 20 with the wind. And if you've gone up to Muir, there is no real protection. Let's see, it tells me, oh yeah, and the wind direction. So the wind direction is important. The wind direction on Friday is from the southwest, so it's going this way. And Muir's on the southern slope, so you'll be blasted on Friday. On Saturday, the winds are coming from kind of the northish direction, and so you're on the south side of the mountain. you may not get a lot of direct wind. Now you'll have some micro swirling, that kind of thing. Again, it's all exposed up at mirror, but you might actually not get the brunt of this, and it's very not really high anyway. So anyway, for what it's worth. So mountain forecast.com is a great site. I do appreciate it when I'm climbing a particular mountain. But my go-to is what I was showing you earlier is NOAA in comparing that. Okay, so we just finished the process that I go through on weather prediction and forecasting. But what I wanted to do first before is to give you a few examples of wind speed. Wind speed showed up several times in the forecast that I was showing, and it's something to consider. You don't really think about it as much as you might with rain or heavy snow, or particularly like if there were thunderclouds or lightning types of risks. Those are all very serious. Sometimes wind is overlooked because it's just a number on there, and you don't want to pay much attention to it. So what I got two separate clips, both very short. It shows you two different wind speeds. The first one happened just here recently up in the mountains when I was going up to a lake, and it's not super fast, but it did come in. It was really still, but as soon as a storm came in, like a storm cloud, the wind speed went up to maybe 10 to 15 miles per hour, probably more like 10. Pay attention to how the rain is coming in at an angle, because that'll be important as you see the clip after this one. Ooh, stormy. Yeah, it's all coming in. Okay, so that was a really short clip, but you get the idea. The second one is where we were going up to Meter in the winters, actually in January a few years ago, and completely predicted sunny weather. We may have missed the wind speed. I'm not quite sure if that was something we just missed or the weather forecast was wrong. It was very, very windy. It was actually a high pressure system on the east side of the mountains, and it was blowing from the east on Mir. And although it was completely sunny, the wind was scouring the snow. And so pay attention to the snow, and do apologize in advance for the microphone, but you get the idea when you hear the wind howl through it. So here it goes. Okay, so that was quite an exciting day. It was actually quite miserable, even though we had full Gore-Tex on. It was with the wind chill, you couldn't take your gloves off. Your hands would just freeze. Your moisture around as you breathed would freeze onto your balaclava, and I remember my balaclava was just frozen in the front due to the wind chill and it just being cold up there. So pretty miserable conditions, considering it was a sunny day. Still fun to talk about and look at. Yeah, typically I don't typically go into that kind of weather, at least not on purpose. So a memorable experience for sure. So hopefully that helps. Again, it just kind of it gives you an idea. Those winds were 25 to 30 miles per hour. Okay, so there's a way to look at wind speed and the given air temperature to determine basically how cold it will feel on you in those types of conditions. So if on this particular chart, air temperature degrees Fahrenheit from 35 down to negative 45, and then wind speed from 5 to 40 miles per hour. And if we're, say that first example we had where it was probably mid 30-ish with a 10 or so mile per hour wind, the effective temperature was around 21. And I would say that seems to be about right. Without gloves, my hands were getting pretty cold. And when I wasn't moving, I was starting to chill, and could feel that if I didn't fix things, over, an hour or so in those types of conditions, that I would start getting slightly hyperthermic or basically unhappy that I was in those conditions. So, this seems to be about right. Now, that second example, the high on the The snow field was in the mid 20s. So the air temperature was around 25 to 30. There was solar loading, which this doesn't show, but there was sun out, so it actually supposedly would warm the effective temperature for you. That's like plus or minus 10 degrees there. So we can round up and say that that might be around 30 mile per hour wind. 25 to 30 is what I was thinking. And so, even though it may be 30 degrees or even 35 degrees outside, with that type of wind speed, the effective temperature on you was like 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So, very cold. And I would buy that completely because we did not even want to take our gloves off for a moment in those types of conditions. Your fingers would just instantly start getting very cold and very unhappy. Water bottles and everything froze up as you breathed out. Like I was saying, as you were breathing through your balaclava, it would just freeze. The moisture of your breath would freeze on that, and you just have a big giant ice clump in front of your mouth. So quite interesting. And so, yeah, I think I would tend to buy this. Now, if you were even colder, and apologize for the format of this chart, but you get even really crazy cold. So you can imagine, like if you're on Everest or something, which of course, we're not talking about here in the Pacific Northwest, but definitely on the top of some of our volcanoes, it can get very windy, and winter summits are quite adventuresome. Because you can be exposed to some very severe temperature, very cold temperatures up there at altitude. So, okay, that's what I wanted to share. Again, kind of gives you an idea of what's going on, and hopefully an appreciation for not to overlook wind speed. Okay, so with that, those are the tools that I'm using. There's plenty of other tools I know other people are using. If you have any that you're particularly fond of that you think are even better or on par that other people can benefit, please put those comments down below. I'd love to have a dialogue on those. And, if I learn something from you, fabulous. I'm always open to learn those things. So, again, hey, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. If you like this kind of content, you want me to make more of this type of content, please let me know. Hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below if you like it, or if you didn't, you don't have to. So have a good one. So thanks for watching. Have fun out there, but be careful and be safe. Till next time.